Hey y'all, it is oil change day on the Yamaha today. We're gonna start all the way at the beginning. We're gonna go all the way to the way back. If you don't need this part, just go ahead and skip forward. But this is for people that have never done it before, new people that want to learn. First of all, before you can even do an oil change on this motor, how do you even know what to get? So obviously your motor tells you a lot. You've got your Yamaha, you've got your 115 normally. The other thing that you want to look at is down here, right here. That's your manufacture date, the year of your motor, and then if you go to the other side, and this is the really important part right here, that gives you the information that you need to take with you, F115LA. So when you walk into the parts house, that's what you're going to tell the man or the woman behind the counter that you have is a Yamaha 115, and the LA is important. One other thing that you need to look at on here, this is your cowling. If you don't know, this is called a cowling. Right here is a little clip. We're going to undo that one. There's usually one in the front too. Yours may not look exactly like this, but again, most of these are relatively the same. So if you see stuff like this, just look on yours and look for kind of the same thing happening. Now we're going to take this cowling off, and I do suggest that you get familiar with taking your cowling off. One thing I will say is if you run a skiff, you probably have a pulling platform. This is a little challenging to get off because of that pulling platform. You can see I've already done, a little bit of damage here, which is fine. It can be repainted, but I'm going to set you down because it is going to take me both hands to get this off so that I don't hit my pulling platform, and I'll show you what to look for next. Be careful with your cowling. That is a lot of money right there. You can inspect it, make sure that the rubber gasket's on there. Mine likes to fall off, you see, but set it on a surface where it's not going to get all scratched up. Just be good to your cowling. Okay, you've got your cowling off, and here's your motor. Don't panic, it's not nearly as scary as what it looks. It can be, but it's really not. One thing you want to look for, if you're not familiar with your motor, truly the only thing that you want to look for at this point is anything corrosive. Corrosive looks like blue, kind of like you see on your battery terminal in your truck, but you'll see blue or green, granulated looking stuff. That's corrosion. If you see that, you might want to, take a closer look, but at this point right here, all we're doing is taking a peek. Motor looks good. What we're really under here for is this right here. This is what we want to see. Now it happens to be right here on my 115 Yamaha. It might be somewhere else on your motor, but typically somewhere in your motor under your cowling, you are going to find a sticker like this, and this sticker is very important. Now, whether you want to use 5 weight, 10 weight, 10 weight, 40, whatever you want to use, that's up to you. I will let you Google that one and make your decision on what weight for your conditions, wherever you happen to live, whatever size your motor is. That is kind of personal preference, but it's also based upon motor size, just a whole bunch of different things. Anyhow, get on it and Google it. But what you're going to need to know is this right here, replacement quantity. So if you are doing oil and filter, you're going to need 3.9 US quarts of oil to do your oil change. If you're doing an oil change without the filter, don't ever do that. If you're doing an oil change without the filter, you're going to need 3.7. So with filter, we're going to need 3.9 US quarts. And what that is going to look like is one of these guys right here, 3.78, and then they also, so when you get this, then you'll end up getting one more little quart with this, and that's the perfect amount. It's more oil than what you need, but you need one of these and you need 1 quart to do the oil and filter in your Yamaha 115. So you have all of your information together. Now you go to the parts house, you tell your guy, you've got a 2012 115 Yamaha and you need to do an oil change. He's going to hand you one of these, he's going to hand you a small one, and then he is going to give you the oil filter. That's what you need. That's it. You're done. But one more thing that I highly, highly, highly recommend. On your way home from the parts house, stop at West Marine. Stop at West Marine, stop at your local trading company, stop wherever you want to stop, and or wherever has one of these. You can Google it. But what you want to find is this little contraption right here. Not that guy, he's mine. This guy right here. This is called an oil extractor. And what you do with this is you just take this hose and you put it right down into your, where your dipstick goes. You pump this thing a couple times and the oil starts coming out. World's easiest contraption. You can use this on your truck, your car, your boat, I don't know, your lawnmower, everything. This is the best $50, I think, that you're ever gonna spend. And you're gonna use this a lot. Now that you know how to do an oil change on your boat, you're gonna use this a lot. This isn't one of them contraptions that you buy once and then you never use it again and it sits in your garage. You're gonna use this a lot and then you're gonna thank me later. Super, super simple. We're gonna start the motor and let it run for just a couple minutes, and what that's gonna do is just let the oil heat up and thin out a little bit so that we can make sure that we have it all. What you're gonna notice, and one thing that I just want to mention, is that you're gonna notice that the sound of this motor when you start it is gonna be a lot different than it is when it's underneath the cowling. It's gonna have a little bit higher pitch. Hey, get out of that street. I swear my dog's retarded. But anyhow, don't panic. That is what it does. It just doesn't have the cowling over top of it to muffle it. So anyhow, go ahead, get your boat started for just a couple minutes. All it needs is a couple minutes, just long enough to warm that motor, the oil up. And then, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but then we're going to turn the motor off, turn the water off, and then we're at it. Get to changing the oil. One thing I want to add right quick is when you're flushing your motors, make sure that your motor is down. I see a lot of people that flush their motors and they have their motor kicked out. These motors, the fluids in these motors are not designed to run upside down. Put your motor down. Okay, oil extractor. This is what we do. This is this little contraption right here. On this little contraption, we have this little guy right here. So we step on this thing so that we can hold it in place and it doesn't go anywhere. We have this tube. This goes inside here. You see down in there, that's just the whole reservoir there. We have this thing and we just put it right in there. Done, easy peasy. Then up here, this is where you check your oil. This is your oil dipstick, okay? Oil dipstick. This is your oil filter, and then this is where you put the oil into your motor once you've got all of the oil out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this out, and then we're gonna put this little doohickey right down in there. It's freaking genius. Okay, so I've got the dipstick out. I am going to set it on a shop towel. And now all I'm gonna do is take the end of this that's connected to my oil extractor, put it right on down in there, all the way down. Now this does work off of gravity, so make sure that this is down here, this is up here. You're gonna put it in here until you can't put it in there anymore. You'll feel it stop. Put your foot on it, and then you're just gonna take it, couple little pumps, and look at that. And it goes right down in there. Could that possibly be any easier to get the oil out of your motor? Okay, so we have got to the point where we are slurping air here. Got a good amount of oil in there. I believe every one of those rings is a quart, so we are at 4 quarts. Now, what I do from here, because I never can remember, and by the way, y'all, I just want to say I am not a mechanic. I'm a gearhead with a telephone that loves saving people money and helping people. So I'm going to kick this up just a little bit, let all the oil, there we go. See, there's a little bit more. And now we're slurping again. And that's again why I like to get the motor good and warm. So that all of that stuff drains down to where it should drain to. Kick it up just a smidge more. Make sure I got it all. Could this be any easier? Mm-mm. Nope. As if this thing doesn't get any more super cool. But you see how this has got a little lip on it? So our next step, not our next step, but here in a couple minutes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this back off, and then this becomes a pour spout. So once we get all of our new oil in there, we're going to have an empty bucket that we are then going to pour our old oil into, and then this is what we're going to take to the landfill or AutoZone or whoever recycles your oil. It's just it's super cool. What I did was I put some shop towels in here just to catch any of the grease or the oil, I'm sorry, because I'll tell you what'll happen, and I'm only going to tell you this because I don't want you to freak out. But sometimes when you do this, you're going to drop oil down in here. Then as you drop oil down in here, the next time you go fire up your boat, which is going to be very, very important because that's where you're going to know if you did anything wrong, right? You're going to fire up your boat and you're going to sit there and idle for a minute and you're going to see if you see any oil slicks. Well, if you have a bunch of oil down here, you're going to have an oil slick and you're not really going to think about the oil that you spilt down there. You're going to wonder what the heck you did wrong when in essence you really didn't do anything wrong. So those panic modes right there is what we're trying to save and not have. So we're going to put just some towels down here just to catch any oil that might come out of there so that we don't go into panic mode for no reason when we see that oil slick on the water next time we start the boat up. Okay, so here, next tool. This is the one. This is the oil filter wrench. So how you use this little contraption is this comes out. It's hard to do one-handed. But this here comes out, and then what you do is you put this over here. So if your oil filter's anything like mine, this is not gonna work. The one thing that you don't wanna do is put channel locks on it, because as soon as you do, you're gonna crush that oil filter and it's just gonna be a disaster. You do not want to do that. Save yourself time. This thing's 15 bucks. Go get an oil filter wrench. Okay, so we're gonna put this under here or over here like so. And then what we're gonna do is tighten this down and then we're gonna twist and it's just gonna pop off easy peasy. So no channel locks. Do not put channel locks or a wrench or anything wonky on there. I'm sure you have one of these laying around, or a buddy does, or your dad does, somebody does. If not, they have them at, I don't know, Harbor Freight, Home Depot. They're super cheap. When you pick one of those up, pick one of these up. All right, so I'm gonna do this, but I gotta do it with both hands. So I gotta have both hands. I don't have very many followers on this app, and I gave up on this app. I didn't give up on this app. I gave up on all of social media for a good minute. You see this turning? This is really just, so see this right here? This is where it bites and you use it as leverage and you just turn and it just comes right off. It's easy peasy. So now that we've got that loosened up, we're going to let that sit there for just a second. I don't see anything leaking out, so we're gonna let it sit there for just a second and then we're gonna get our other one prepped. But anyhow, this whole filming thing is, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty smart, but this whole filming thing really makes me feel like I'm not. So oil filter, we got our new oil filter. And so we're gonna just take this out of the package. Now when this comes out of the package, this has a plastic chute, see? This has a plastic film on top of it. This does not belong here, okay? We are going to take this plastic film off, gone, off. One of the things that I do want you to notice, or that you do have to notice when you buy one of these, is if it comes pre-greased or not. And you see that this one does. So what that means is typically when you take an oil filter off and put a new one on, what you're going to do is you're going to get a little dab of oil on your finger, and you're going to run that oil around there so that when you put it on there and you twist, that thing doesn't sit down and you don't crush that O-ring. It's got to be lubricated before you put it on there and twist. In this instance, with this oil filter, this is already lubricated, so we don't have to do that. If you do that, is it going to ruin anything? Absolutely not. It's just going to be a little bit more lubricated. If you want to go ahead, do it. But you don't have to. If you buy something different, this is Yamaha, but if you're buying something different, always, always, always make sure that that O-ring is lubricated, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get this off of here, and then we're going to put this new one on here. I am not going to fill this up. Another thing that people do is they will fill this up with oil before they put it on there, kind of like your fuel filter. I am not going to do that, because if you fill that up with oil and then try to put that on there, it's just going to pour out everywhere. As you see, this motor was designed for X amount of quarts with the oil filter and X amount of quarts without the oil filter. So what I do is I will put this on there. We're going to put our oil inside. We're going to put new oil in it. We're going to put the whole big thing of oil in it. We're going to turn the motor on for just a couple minutes, just a couple seconds, let that oil suck into this oil filter. We're going to turn the motor off, then we're going to check the dipstick and probably add more oil. Okay, so that's how I do it. It works every time. All right, so I am going to go ahead and take this off. Now this right here is where you're going to see all of the oil start to spill out. I don't know if you see that or not, but that's where all the oil starts to spill out. So make sure that you have all of your rags in there. And then we are going to do this just as quickly as possible. Yeah, there it is, full of oil. So when you look at this, you see what I'm talking about. Again, I don't know how mechanically inclined you are, so I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but if you're new to this, here's an oil filter. It's full of oil. It's hard for me to tip it to show you, but it is full of oil. So this is one of the pieces on the motor that obviously the oil goes through because it's filtering that oil. So it is going to be full of oil when you pull it off. Make sure that you have all of your nasty little towels that you're not going to use again. We're not washing these, by the way. These are going straight into the trash can. Okay, they're here to save your day. They are one-time use today. So we're going to get all of these out here, and I'm going to clean that up real quick, and then I will be right back. So we got all of that cleaned up. You see my towels here, where they were sitting right here. So most of the oil got on here, so it worked out really well. There was very little oil down here. So again, putting those, I use these red ones because quite frankly, I don't really find them useful for anything else. They leave this like fuzzies everywhere they go. And so I'm a one-use person with these little towels. But anyhow, I just throw them right down here and let that oil pour onto them when it comes off. And that way we don't have a bunch of mess anywhere. All right, so our next step here is to throw these nasty little things away. And then we are going to take the new lubricated one, already lubricated, self-lubricated, Yamaha lubricated, whatever it is. And we are just going to put that right in there. And we're going clockwise here. And we're just gonna screw that right on. Okay, so once you get that on there, you're gonna get that on there hand tight. Because I'm a girl and I'm weak, I tighten it down just a little bit. You're probably a man. If you're not a man and you're a girl like me, put that thing on there and just kind of cinch it down. Just put it on the right way. But just cinch it down because we don't have that. You know, the men are like, it's fine hand tight, but their hand tight is like, I can't open the pickle jar after you, so don't tell me about hand tight. So anyhow, I always take this thing and just kind of cinch it down just a smidge, just to get it what I presume, see how easy it turns right there? What I presume would be a man's hand tight. You know what I mean? I'm not, and I feel like, oh, it still moves. So when I was taking this off, I could not have turned that daggum thing to save my life, right? So that's how tight it was. So as I'm putting this on, I don't want to be able to turn it. I want it just as tight as it was when I took it off. So I can't turn it. I feel like that's good now. I haven't over tightened it. Never over tighten anything, especially with an O-ring. Never over tighten anything. All you're doing is giving it an extra little snug to make it hand tight on, with whoever would. Anyhow, just an extra little snug. Never tight. We're not forcing these things, is never, ever, ever. You'll crush that O-ring and you'll have all sorts of problems. We're just making it nice and snug. I think I got my point across. I'm gonna quit beating that horse and we are going to put oil in this thing. Okay, so this is where our new oil goes, right down in here. Make sure that your oil filter's back on, your dipstick's back in, everything's ready. You are now set for your new oil. So you can really hand pour this in here. It is pretty simple to do, but just keep in mind that it's going to be forever. So hopefully you're steady-handed. If not, just put a funnel in there. Really simple. So we're going to use a funnel. Make sure it's clean. Always want a clean funnel because you don't want any nonsense, no debris, no nothing. You don't want, whatever's in there is going to go down into your motor, and you do not want any debris going down in there. So make sure that you clean your funnel really, really well. And this is the easy part. I'm sure you really don't even need to watch me put oil into the reservoir here. Super simple. We're just gonna do this. We're gonna get this down in here, and then once we get all of this in here, we're gonna turn the motor on. Okay, so now we have as much oil in there as I believe we should per our chart up here. By the way, I was using 10W30. I used 10W30 in mine. Personal preference, again, just the way that I use my motor, being all the way down here in South Florida. So this is very important. Again, we're going to take this and we're going to clean this. We're not going to do it right now because we might need it in a second. We're going to check our oil, check our dipstick again, but just be mindful of where you set this. Don't throw it on the ground. Put our little plug back in, hand tight, hand tight. Okay, now we're gonna put our motor down. Doesn't have to go all the way down. Put the motor down like you were running the boat, okay? So, trimmed up just a smidge. But again, we're not having it way up here. You need that oil where that oil goes. It should be in that oil pan, not just put the motor down. All right, y'all. So the last thing that we really have to do to wrap up this oil change today is to just check the dipstick one more time. Now, I did run my boat for a couple minutes. I ran the motor for a couple minutes just here on a set of ears just to let it get some oil into that oil filter, through the oil filter, fill up the oil filter. Now I'm just going to, my dog got a sandspur. Now I'm just going to check that oil one more time. And then as long as everything's good, we're gonna wrap this up, and it looks really good to me. Again, the one thing that I wanna make very, very clear is if you're not familiar with the dipstick, which is okay. Listen, it's okay. If you're not familiar with a dipstick, let's just go through it. This dipstick right here, this pattern, this checkered area right here is where you want your oil to be. anywhere within this checkered area. Preferably you want it on the fuller side than the lesser side, but anywhere within this area is good. When you get below that checkered area or above that checkered area, that is not good. If you put too much oil in your motor, more is not better. If it's above that line, it's a problem. Get some oil out of there. So again, anywhere in between here is good. If it's on the lower side, you're going to need to check it a little bit sooner. If it's on the higher side, you can let it go. I think Yamaha recommends 50 to 100 hours for an oil change, but always check your oil. And now that you know how simple it is to do an oil change on one of these motors, don't be skipping them. Don't be calling the mechanics. Listen, marine mechanics are worth their weight in gold. Truly, they really are. But not for an oil change. You don't need a marine mechanic for an oil change. You don't need him to come out here and charge you a bunch of money, which they do because they can, because they are good. And you don't need to be without your boat for several weeks because it's just sitting in his yard waiting on a space to open up. It's just a simple oil change. You see how easy it is to do. And so now you're going to make sure that you're doing all of your oil changes by yourself. Okay. One more thing I want to show you and we'll wrap this up. This here is Yamaha silicone protectant and lubricant. Maintenance. This stuff here, this is why my motor looks the way it does. Superior corrosion inhibitor, repels water, leaves surface clean, general purpose lubricant. What I do with this, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a full service on this. I'm not going to video that, but I'm just going to do a full service on this, or I would spray it. But what I do is I just take this stuff and I spray this all over this motor. Now, don't worry about getting it on things, because the things that the things that you probably think you shouldn't get it on are the things that you need to get it on. For example, all of this wiring, all of these connectors. Now, I'm not talking that you need to sit here and spray it on there, but you definitely need to do a very nice light dusting and make sure that you really concentrate on the electronics and get this all over this motor, both sides. Also, make sure that you're greasing these points. There's some greasing and stuff that you need to do. I won't get too far into that. The only last thing that I'm going to say to you is this. You've just done an oil change on your boat, and congratulations and good for you. But the next step is putting this boat in the water. I want you to make sure you don't just leave it right here. This isn't it. As soon as you put that boat in the water, as soon as you back that boat down and you get on the boat while it's still sitting on that trailer, I want you to get to the back of the boat and look around your motor and see what you see. Make extra sure and just take those extra precautions that everything's good. If you see an oil slick back there, you might want to get it back out of the water and take the cowling off. If you see a little bit of oil back there, you're likely going to see a little bit of oil from the oil that you got in here. That's likely, but you're going to want to keep checking on that. If you see a little bit of oil sitting at the boat ramp and then you take it and you put your boat over here while you park your truck and you still see another oil slick, and then you go to your first fishing spot and that thing's still gushing oil, pay attention. Until you are super confident, you put it in that boat ramp, there's no oil where, just pay attention, especially the first time that you do this by yourself. It's super important. Oil in these is super important, and that can be the difference between having to buy a new motor and having to not buy a new motor. So this really is a super simple process, but it doesn't mean that it's just a one and done and you can not pay attention. When you put this motor back down into the water, just pay attention that there's not an oil slick there. Make sure that everything looks good. Watch it for a little bit and just make yourself comfortable. Once there's no oil slick, once you're comfortable, don't worry, run the fire out of that boat and have a great time. But just be aware the first time you do your oil change, just have a little bit of awareness about you. All right, y'all, I hope this video was helpful. Sorry for the long drawn out, but sorry, not sorry, hashtag, but I hope this was helpful, and I see you on the flip side on another video. All right, y'all. Be safe.